Thank you. Come on. I know why the excitement. Bob Dole is now online. It's true. Yesterday, Bob Dole did CompuServe and went and did the online thing. I don't know if he really understands the technology. He tried to answer back in Morse code. Now, Bob Dole on the internet, that was actually a first for the internet, because the first time a guy was typing one-handed with his pants on. Well, ladies, have you gotten over the Kennedy fiasco yet? Listen to this, like you had a shot. Well, it was such a private wedding, JFK Jr., of course, that the reports are now just dribbling in. In fact, Oliver Stone right now is reviewing the wedding video to determine the number of shots Ted Kennedy had. Oh, boy, well. It's a battle between the boors and the clappers now, isn't it? Well, there were apparently was a lot of drinking after the wedding, and there was only 3 Kennedy guests invited. You know that his sister Caroline and Uncle Ted and William Kennedy Smith, who you may remember from his trial. And unfortunately, boy, this was a bad choice. After the wedding, he ordered a sex on the beach, which Well, Kennedy's not the only one getting married. Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, who committed 13 grisly torture murders, getting married October 3rd. Isn't that sweet? From a young woman who wrote him a birthday card in jail. And I'd just like to say to this young woman's father, you're not losing a daughter, No, you are losing a daughter. You are... And also, you know who the IRS is investigating? Tim Mcveigh, the alleged Oklahoma bomber, is in trouble with the tax people. I think he's in trouble enough, but apparently, you know, it's a dead tip-off when you try to write off fertilizer as an entertainment expense. And also, I guess you heard about Richard Jewell in our cavalcade of famous people here. He's, of course, the guy who was accused of, by the FBI or investigated for the Olympic bombing, and they have found nothing. And he says now that the FBI took his Disney tapes and has not returned them. And the FBI says he is no longer a bombing suspect, but they do think he has the formula for flubber. Anyway, thanks for coming. It's all been satirized for your perspective. First, a best-selling author and a successful investment advisor. His latest book is Why Government Doesn't Work. He's also the Libertarian Party's candidate for President of the United States this year, Harry Browne. Harry, thank you for coming. He is a reporter and author whose books include Bioassassins, Hitler's Children, and Case Closed. His latest is Citizen Perot. Gerald Posner. How you doing, Gerald? Thanks for coming by. An Oscar-nominated and Tony Award-winning actress. She's currently starring in Canada's Sunset Boulevard. She'll return to the U.S. to record a new album and star in an NBC Movie of the Week. Diane Carroll is right over there. Hey, gorgeous.
Good to see you.
Thank you. Oh, you bet. And finally, he is an actor, producer, director, and for 8 years he's played George on Seinfeld. Look for him next year in the film Love, Valor, Compassion. Jason Alexander. Deafening. Okay. Well, welcome aboard. Now, listen, Mr. Browne, I have to tell you, as I told you backstage, there's nobody who's I've been asked to have on more recently than you. We want to get to your libertarian politics, but this first Wives Club is such a phenomenon.
You'll
Very smooth.
He has a plank on that.
You have a plank on the First Wives Club.
Well, we need to get Bob Dole to review that, I think.
Well, no, I want to tell the folks, we are going to get to libertarian politics, but I saw this movie. Has anybody seen this yet?
Yeah, I've seen it.
You've seen it?
It's great.
It's very entertaining, isn't it? It's really nice to see these old, not old, these...
Watch it.
I was going to say old pros. I just meant they were seasoned veteran actresses.
But don't you think that's wonderful? That is it, $20 million over the
in
last
one weekend?
Yeah, that's kind of fantastic.
Which
There's
means
not
it
a
struck
lady
a
there
nerve.
that's 40. They're all 40 plus. That's nice.
Right, and it struck a nerve, same way Waiting to Exhale did earlier in the year, I think.
So it's pretty much the same point of view, I think.
Right.
It's the ladies who
Men
are
are scum.
Yeah, well, all right.
But
You said
Most
it.
men.
the question I would like to, I wish we actually had more women here on the panel today, because the question I did want to ask is...
I don't.
Well, yes, I mean, men are scum when they leave their wives. I mean, that's obviously what the movie is about. Men get to a certain age and they leave their wives for younger women. But what is the alternative that they want these men to do? Do they want to stay somewhere where they have no love left? Can you force someone to have love if they don't have love?
Well, you know, Bill, I think we've come very far because there was a time when I only know of this from reading, where gentlemen carried on their affairs and women either put up with it or not. But it was accepted that there were mistresses and whatnot. Now, at least, men feel that they can go to their old battered wives that they've used and abused for years of marriage and worn out and say, you know, darling, I've met a younger, more attractive woman and it's been fabulous knowing you, and we're upfront about it. I think we've progressed so far.
I don't know how to tell you. I really do believe that it's a dated point of view, because I believe the whole thing about the first wives being left, I think it's been done, it's over, finished. Nobody really cares about it, except that these are three very, very funny women, and that's why they're going to see the film.
Oh, no, people do care, or people would not have seen this film.
Let me tell you why I think it's a little bit dated. We're talking about now two gay women who have babies and want to adopt babies. We're also talking about women who are older, who are with younger men, and that's not really a topic that was around 10 years ago, and it is today. But I think that we've talked about the first wife being left for a very long time now, and it's not as interesting as it used to be.
But I tell you, living in New York, you see it all the time. You see business executives who have been very successful, who were with the first wife while they were on the way up, and suddenly they have $500 million on the Forbes 400 list, and now they have the new X-ray wife who goes with them to all the parties and is usually a little bit younger than their children from the first marriage. But I think. But the interesting thing to me is, I don't think the point in this movie is you leave your first wife for now the new younger second wife, and therefore, as you said, a scumbag or scoundrel. But you don't even need to leave your wife to be a scoundrel. Dick Morris shows that. You can still be a scoundrel, stay with your wife, and not be a very reputable person. So, I mean, just because you stay with the first wife doesn't mean you're very decent.
But you know, there's also a question of, seriously, what would you like to end your life with? Now, I've been married roughly since puberty, so when I come to the end of my life, I would like to lie down in my grave next to the woman that I shared my life with and build something with, as opposed to Brenda, who I met a year ago. So I don't understand the phenomenon, quite frankly. And I notice there's no ring on your finger there, Bill. Why does this bother you so much?
Well, you know, we have to take a break, but I would like to talk about that when we come back. I really would.
This program is brought to you by Volkswagen. Drivers want it.
When Volkswagen decided to make our mountain bike a standard feature on their new Jetta, we said, cool. We got a chance to check out their Jetta, and they got a chance to check out our bike. We tested handling, braking, suspension, and of course, safety. The limited edition Jetta Trek, complete with roof rack and 21-speed Trek mountain bike. On the road of life, there are passengers and there are drivers.
From acclaimed writer-director Allison Anders comes one of the year's best films. 4 stars for Grace of My Heart, rated R. Now playing at select theaters.
With Lady Speed Stick, the air you wear always seems fresher. Because Lady Speed Stick renews its scent and its protection. Lady Speed Stick renews its scent to renew you.
Billy, how did you know when I was coming home?
Well, I just figured it was a half an hour from the airport. 10 minutes to get your luggage, 4-hour flight. And then there was, 18 months to get your graduate degree, 4 years for your undergraduate. And, when you factor in the leap year, daylight savings time.
Lee Jeans.
No days.
The brand that fits.
Look carefully at these ice cubes. Do you see a subliminal message? Do you see a beautiful naked woman smiling seductively at you? If you do, you probably just need a girlfriend.
Write to us at Politically Incorrect, 7800 Beverly Boulevard, Los Angeles, California, 90036.
Okay, we were talking about the First Wives Club, and as we broke away, Jason, you were saying what many have said on this show, which is, you're Bill, you're of a certain age, you never have gotten married. I think it's especially ironic that you should say it because you're on the one show that has made it okay for people to be of a certain age and still be single. I think it really changed the way our culture looked at 40-year-old single people. Not that the people on your show are normal, but...
Or 40, for that matter. But finish your thought.
40 and up, let's say. But, my answer to that is, yes, I've never gotten married, but isn't it better not to have done what these guys have done? I never had anyone who I would dump, because
You never had anyone you would dump?
Well, I'd never been married, so I couldn't dump
You never
anybody.
had that chance.
So, shouldn't I get some credit instead of all the criticism I constantly get?
I think most married people are looking at you with a kind of maybe a little envy, but a question, and the question is, are you afraid to make the commitment?
Yeah, I understand.
Or are you gay?
Well, he could be gay and still for marriage.
That's
right.
I'll tell you this about married people. They don't make a great advertisement for their own product.
You're absolutely correct. That's true. I would love to disagree with you about that.
You talk to married people, and how's it going? And their answer is not, oh, I'm in love. Well, marriage is tough. That's what married people say. How's it go? Oh, well, you got to work. There's some real low points. And it doesn't make you want to go, oh boy, I want to get in on that.
But you missed the good conversation, because I was actually having a conversation with Harry before the show about our wives, and we were both it was the mutual admiration club about how happy we were married. So I've been married 12 years and think it's wonderful. And I think it works. It does. It's all right. And my wife is watching.
I second that. I couldn't imagine not being married.
You couldn't imagine not being married. But Harry, you can imagine huge tax cuts now. If I may,
what a smooth segue.
The prince of segues here. Now, Harry, this is your pamphlet here, and I just want to say I've read it, and I agree with much in the libertarianism doctrine, but it says right here, look at this, huge tax cuts now, huge spending cuts now, a balanced budget now. Lose weight in 30 days. I look to this party to be a little better than the other parties. I have to say, I think your pamphlet stinks. It looks like something I find under my door.
Well, the fact is, the whole point is that the politicians cannot learn the word now. They have to do everything in 7 years, in 10 years, in 12 years. And what we want is some relief right now. We're sick to death of supporting a wasteful, extravagant government at the expense of our own families. So why don't we get the government out of all these things it's made a mess of?
Okay, we're going to take a break and we're going to come back and Mr. Browne is going to tell us more.
For tickets or group reservations for our studio audience in Hollywood, call 213-852-2655.
You're watching Politically Incorrect with Bill Maher here at Comedy Central. At 11:30, it's The Daily Show with your host, Craig Kilborn.
America's most sought-after video has finally come home. Cops, Too Hot for TV, what the censors would not let you see, is now available at a video store near you. This explosive video contains the most shocking footage ever recorded for cops. From the wacky to the wild. It's uncut, uncensored, unbelievable. Capture it now and you'll see it all.
It's the coolest tape I've ever seen. It's so much fun. I love cops.
This is the greatest video I've seen this year.
You gotta get it. This is the coolest thing I've ever seen.
Get Cops Too Hot for TV. Even cops can't believe it. Now available at Suncoast, Sam Goody, and video stores everywhere. Or call 1-800-247-5151 and order direct.
James, that's it. I'm going to have to teach you a lesson. Come stand up here in front of the class. Next time you feel like hitting someone, apply the Moe method. I'll demonstrate. Grab your ear. Now practice on your neighbor.
Take a big blue arachnid, add a scrawny bunny guy.
I am a moth.
A pinch of superhero wannabes and a heaping tablespoon of supervillains. Stir vigorously and chill for half an hour with The Tick. Sunday nights at 7 here at Comedy Central.
Email politically incorrect at pi@cis.compuserve.com.
All right, we're back and we have Mr. Harry Browne, the Libertarian candidate for president, and what you propose is truly radical. And I just want to get everybody's ideas on what you think this is. First of all, what do you think this is possible? You're really suggesting we return to a form of government that's very close to what the Constitution suggested.
Absolutely.
But, I mean, the Constitution was written at a time when we had 10 million people and only 3 Starbucks. Now, is it possible to spend... Is it possible to slash spending 50% to end the income tax? Is it really possible in this day and age with the complex world we have?
Yes, it is. Let me ask the audience a question.
Uh-oh.
Suppose you're getting a student loan, or maybe your father's getting a farm subsidy, or maybe you love the Corporation for Public Broadcasting. Would you give up your favorite federal programs if it meant you never had to pay income tax again?
What about you? What's your favorite federal program?
My favorite federal program?
Yeah. Your pet.
I'm a big fan of the condom distribution. It's just a good program. I don't know.
Just a sentimental...
It sounds very, and I've been doing a little looking into libertarianism, and it actually has a lot of very, very interesting thoughts that I think should be included in the debate among all the presidential candidates.
What's your favorite federal program?
The thing that concerns me most when I hear this is, we were just discussing it, and he was very kind. He said, why did you say that on the air? If the states are really in control and we are releasing the federal government from these responsibilities, I don't know, there's something about that frightens me.
Well, when a state gets too much power, you just move across the state line. When the federal government gets too much power, you're going to move to Canada or Mexico, and that's no fun.
But Harry, it's easy. But I understand what you're saying.
You're afraid if the government doesn't have these powers.
Right. I mean, we would never have had Browne versus Board of Education. We would never have had integration if we didn't have a federal judiciary. We wouldn't have Roe versus Wade. We wouldn't have had abortion. Wait. Also. I think, you know, the key is, it sounds great, no income tax is a crowd pleaser. If I ask the crowd, you don't want to pay any income tax, everybody says yes. But no federal involvement, no federal financing for education, no federal financing for health care of any type whatsoever. Those things worry me as well. You know, to do away with the entire process and to set up a small storefront where 3 people then run the government, I think goes too far in the opposite direction. Smaller government, yes, but not no government.
The federal government has destroyed health care. These people in this audience are paying astronomical costs for health insurance because of the federal government's involvement. The federal government has destroyed education. It has destroyed welfare in this country and created a permanent class of citizens who have no self-respect anymore.
But I agree with that. But then what we need is reform on those, not the elimination of government, but actually fixing them. There is an answer to this, short of moving government totally out of it.
That's why the debates are so important, I think, so that we can make up our minds after we hear which candidate makes sense.
Right. Why should we have to hear Dole and Clinton only on this? I'd love to see Harry Browne. I'd love to see Perot and other people on this. You know, you're never going to hear his ideas talked about between those two candidates.
Well, we're going to hear them right now. Now, Harry, let me ask you this. Let me name a few things. You tell me if you think we still need them in our government. Defense.
Yes, it's part of the Constitution.
Right.
However, we do not need the enormous bureaucracy called the Department of Defense, and we don't need to be meddling in the affairs of other countries and running around the world trying to defend everybody.
Okay, what about the Food and Drug Administration? I mean, we do want our food and drugs safe, don't we?
Of course we do, but the federal government doesn't make them safe. It's caused more deaths than it has saved lives.
Oh, come on.
Of course. Anytime
Who are you going to leave it up to see that there's not bacteria in your hamburgers?
To your doctor, to your insurance company. Anytime you turn something over to government, you're making it a political issue to be divided up by Newt Gingrich, Teddy Kennedy, Bill Clinton, Bob Dole. They'll sit around a table and, you know, every bill, no matter what it is going to have a federal building in it for West Virginia.
You believe food and drugs would be safer without the government as a watchdog?
Here's the problem, and I think if we could attack this problem, we would probably please a lot of people. I think the essential problem in our government is that our contribution as citizens is every 4 years, if we're lucky, we all walk into a booth and we go, thank you, we're done, that's my citizenship, and I don't need to be involved. I put my name down, and I picked you, and now you help me, and you run everything, and there's no communication, no involvement. As long as we are not a country that supports our government and a government that supports our people, we got zippity-doo-dah. And you can... And it doesn't matter who you put in. Yes, a Food and Drug Administration creates problems, and yes, without it, you might have all kinds of problems that we haven't anticipated. The government doesn't run well. It doesn't run efficiently. It doesn't run according to the people's mandate. It needs to be taken apart and put back together again. And it needs people to go in and put ideas up. But his ideas, I think, are extreme. But between his and someone else's, there's a middle ground where we can all live. And until he's heard, and heard in a big way, we will not get to that middle ground.
Oh, well, then I feel really bad about having to take a break right now.
You're watching Indecision 96 on Comedy Central.